115 people die from metastatic breast cancer every single day in the United States. Today, I'm going to talk about my breast cancer journey. My name is Deb, and I live with metastatic breast cancer and bipolar 1 disorder. Managing both of these has been not an easy thing, but I have decided to launch this YouTube channel in order to have a place to leave my stories somewhere, a legacy for my kids. So when I become that number, part of the 115, they will have somewhere where they can go and find out who mom was. In 2016, I was a single mom of a 2-year-old, and I had a lump in my right breast, and I went in to go get it checked out. I think it was probably like with my routine PAP at that time. The provider that saw me was not my normal provider. It was just someone that was on call that day, and because as usual I was busy, I just accepted that. And that provider was dismissive. I think they almost thought that I was ridiculous for being concerned. They said it was a clogged milk duct that was likely from breastfeeding, because I was still breastfeeding my daughter. So, they're the professionals. Even though it felt a little off, I kind of took their word for it and was like, okay, and I just shoved it to the side because I was busy. I had a lot of other things on my plate, and like a lot of mamas, we put ourselves last. So number one, don't put yourself last. If you care about your children's health, care about yours too. Flash forward 2 years later, it's 2018. I now have a 4-year-old. Time has moved on. I'm still doing the same stuff. I'm busy. I'm busy with my community. I'm living in Salt Lake City. I'm an activist and organizer with an anti-police brutality organization called Utah Against Police Brutality. I'm feeling, very busy. I have a lot of things going on. Single mom, I'm dealing with custody issues, I'm dealing with abuse, domestic violence, I'm trying to manage a mental illness. I had a lot on my plate. But that pesky lump was still there, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. And I don't know if that's willful ignorance or just, I don't know, again, putting myself to the side because there were other things that were more important. I spent a lot of years focusing so much on mental health and talking about mental health, because I felt pretty well physically. So again, I didn't listen to my body. Now, at this time, I had started dating again. I felt ready. I was at a time in my life where I was like, okay, got a 4-year-old now. It's been several years since my last relationship and been learning a lot of new skills in therapy. And so I started dating someone briefly, and over some time, they noticed the lump in my breast, and I was so embarrassed. Like, why would it take someone else to let me know about something going on in my body? And that's something that you'll see that I've done a lot is blame myself. I blamed myself a lot during this journey so far, and I'm learning to show myself grace. At their request, I scheduled a doctor's appointment right away, and I went in, and I remember it was like the second week of April 2018. And this time I felt nervous. This time I got a woman doctor, and that was nice. But she was taking a long time after she did the examination, and next thing I know, she's asking me to come in the next day to the Huntsman Cancer Institute to get a mammogram. And now remember, 2 years prior, they had told me, oh, it's probably just a clogged milk duct. Oh, there's no history of breast cancer in your family. You're too young to have breast cancer. There's no indicators, Oh, so silly. But this time I didn't hear any of that. So I went in the next day for a mammogram. And I went in with one of my best friends, and I'm so glad she was there with me. After the mammogram, I was asked if I could stay for a biopsy. Now I really knew that something was wrong because it's very unusual for someone to do a biopsy the same day as the mammogram. So I did. My best friend had to go pick up my daughter at the preschool, because that's where my mind was at. Hey, my 4 year old's about to get out of school. I got to go take care of that. But in that moment, I had to take care of me. The biopsy was very painful. Um, they didn't use any anesthesia. They literally just stuck a needle just right into my breast. And they couldn't determine if it was going to, hit the tumor or not. And just based on their reactions, I knew it was bad. And then a few days later, on 4/20/2018, I got a call and I was getting ready to board a bus to go to the preschool for a parent teacher conference. And I step on the train, not the bus. There's a train in Salt Lake, a light rail. As I'm stepping on the train, I pick up the phone and I hear that, we're so sorry to tell you. We're so sorry. We're so sorry. We're sorry to inform you that you do have breast cancer. And I was like, okay, thanks for the information, and they said some stuff about they'll call me, and I just hung up, had to keep it together because I'm in public and I'm about to get on the train. And I get on the train and I don't know, it is a small city, but it was really nice to see someone I knew on the train right when I got on. One of my comrades, she was on the train, and I immediately went up to her and I said, Carly, I just got a call. I just got told I have breast cancer. And I was very, just like this, very matter of fact. And I remember she started crying, and I was just glad, in that moment to have someone there. But I was only 2 stops away from where I needed to go, so I had to pull it together. Went to the parent teacher conference, told my daughter's preschool teacher, allowed myself to cry for a little bit there, find out how things were going, and then I moved it along. And then everything after that was kind of a whirlwind. I didn't get to see an oncologist for maybe 2 weeks later. And then from there, I had been, you know, very against the idea of doing chemotherapy. At this point, I thought it was like stage 2 because that's what they said. They're like, oh, it's, early onset breast cancer. So I was still trying to get used to this idea. No one, biologically related to me had breast cancer. So how is this even happening? I'm in my mid 30s. Like, what is going on? Um, so I'm saying I don't want chemo. I don't want chemo, and I'd like to try some natural treatments first. I want to push off starting chemo. And they said, okay, but we're gonna do some other scans and stuff. And it was a lot. I'm pretty sure that I was experiencing mania. It was the spring of that year, and that's my normal time for when I'm experiencing manic episodes. So it is hard to remember at times, and I have to slow down and go back to the memories. But what I do remember is that I went back in, and now we're at almost a month after I've been told that I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. I've already had a port put in, a little trusty port right here, and I was due to have a PET scan and a bronchoscopy, and I didn't know what the hell that was. A very, very painful procedure. They stick a camera all the way down here. It'll look inside your chest wall and your lungs and stuff. And on May 22nd, 1 month after being diagnosed with breast cancer, I was told, actually, it's metastasized. It has spread, all in your auxiliary lymph nodes, all the way, your sternum, your mediastinum, and your lungs. And it was just all up in here. And I don't know. I didn't really, I maybe did a little Google, which is the worst thing possible. I highly recommend do not Dr. Google things. You should know this by now, but in case you don't do it. I Googled, what does a metastatic breast cancer mean? You know, stage 4, it's terminal. There's, all the stuff you read about it, it's incurable, many treatments. And I'm just wanting to look at statistics, and I I didn't want to deal with it, right? So I was like, okay, fine, fine. I'm gonna do chemo. I'm gonna agree. I've been told by other people that I have one of the best oncologists, Dr. Baez at Huntsman Cancer Institute. She's one of the best, and I said, okay, I'll try it, but I don't want to start until June 1st. And she was a little concerned because, she's like, it's spreading so aggressively. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to try a natural way. And I did. I tried RSO. I want to talk about that. I did try cannabis oil, Rick Simpson cannabis oil. And that was, you know, um, available to me. And I tried it for a month. By the time I started chemotherapy on June 1st, the lump in my breast had shrunk down a little bit, enough for my oncologist to have a reaction to it. Um, but obviously, at this point, I'd already, realized I need to do chemo, right? They said that they couldn't do a lumpectomy because my breast was too small and the lump was too big, or the tumor, excuse me. So that my best course of treatment was going to be doing chemo, and that was going to be Taxol, Herceptin, and Perjeta. So I start the treatment and I go all of June, all of July, all of August, all of September, every single Friday. But in the meanwhile, I kept doing my thing. I kept showing up for the community, kept showing up to protest rallies, kept showing up where I was needed. Um, Things were going on and still are going on in this country that I don't agree with, and I'm on the side of humanity. So if people's human rights are being trampled on, I'm going to go protest that. And at this time, it's very important for me, families at the border to be reunited. There was a lot of police brutality going on in our community, so I had those things to deal with, right? That was my commitment. I didn't have time to deal with metastatic breast cancer. I was just gonna go do my thing on Fridays, get checked out, do my labs, and just handle it. And now that I know what avoidant behavior means, I'm pretty sure that's what I was doing on like a smaller scale. I didn't want to deal with breast cancer. I just wanted to plow through it, keep doing the things that I was doing. Well, I don't know if that was the best idea or not, because I didn't do what a lot of people do, and I commend people who immediately go find support. I had only met one woman, also a fellow activist, and she had, I believe it was stage 3 breast cancer, same oncologist, shared her experience with me. And for some reason, I was like, okay, cool. Met somebody, they're doing okay. I'm going to be fine too, right? Again, breast cancer versus metastatic breast cancer, right? Clearly, you know, I wasn't having that full understanding of what my life was going to look like after chemo. So I continue on this whole entire summer of doing treatment and stuff and not knowing if it's working. I remember in August, about 2 months in, I got really sick. I was vomiting for like 1 week straight. It was pretty scary. I'd lost all my hair, totally bald, but I was still going hard. And it was summertime, so I not once tried a wig. That just wasn't my thing. I did the scarves. Um, Now we're at the end of September. We're coming up on October, and now I'm about to have the scans to find out if all these months of treatment are working, like what's happening. And I remember it was October 5th, 2018. I have a PET scan, and the oncologist lets me know that the treatment has been working and that the tumors are shrinking down. And I was overjoyed, of course. For some reason, right? And I feel like this is my fault. I know that I still do some of the blaming thing. For some reason, I thought I was going to be done that day. Now, maybe if I had joined some support groups, or maybe if I had gone on Facebook and just met some other people with metastatic breast cancer, I would have already known that I wasn't going to ring that bell. So, yes, I knew what metastatic meant, but I thought I was done. I wasn't done. You don't beat it. You can only reach NED or NEAD, which is no evidence of disease or no evidence of active disease, which is what was happening on where I was at this time. And I was so shocked when I saw the PET scans. Like, she had put the before and after next to each other, and on the before side I was lit up like a Christmas tree, just like everywhere. It was like wild. And then on this side it was totally clear, and it just felt like nothing short of a miracle. This treatment had worked, and there was talks of radiation for any possible lingering cancers, and there was other little things, but like I don't know, is it willful ignorance or what? I don't know, but I was surprised to find out that I would need to return in 3 weeks for continuing treatment. Like, and I felt kind of dumb too, because I didn't know. And I remember asking her, I'm like, well, how long am I going to have to do this for? And she said, indefinitely. And I keep going back in my mind, and I don't think that they properly informed me of what metastatic breast cancer really is. I feel like because they had a casual attitude with me, and maybe that was influenced because I'm so honest about my mental illness and how I struggle with my mental health. I don't know, but I felt like the providers around me, the team, should have realized that I wasn't like quite grasping this idea of what MBC is. So it was like a surprise for me after all these months, right? Yay, NED, but at the same time now, indefinite treatment every 3 weeks. That was 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now. And I'm still here. And I'm lucky because my first line of treatment is still working. There's been a lot of difficulties. I might look healthy, but I don't feel healthy. I might still be NED, but I have scans next month on Friday the 13th. But I'm not prepared and was not prepared for the long-term side effects and the things I go through every day. So about a year ago, and I have to backtrack real fast. There was a point during my treatment, and I think it was like right when I got that clear PET scan, when I asked about support groups at this cancer institute. And the response I got was, oh, no, those stage 4 groups are not for you. Those are for people that are doing like really bad. And I felt shot down. Yes, I had community support. I had my friends, they had my back. I had good people around me. But I didn't know a single person with metastatic breast cancer. And I felt shot down, and I didn't think anything of it. And considering that I'm on social media every day, I don't know why it never occurred to me to type in metastatic breast cancer groups until 3 years after having metastatic breast cancer. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I didn't want to meet other people because I get really emotional and attached to people. And in this community, people are dying every day. Nevertheless, I did seek out a group. Why? Because about 3 years in, I started taking note of these long-term side effects that I've been having, a lot of pain, a lot of neuropathy. Suddenly, all the things that I could do before, I couldn't do it. I had half the energy that I used to have prior to starting chemo. My feet were hurting all the time, like felt like I was dragging logs. Like it hurt so bad. They still do. They hurt right now. I have a blanket on my lap, keep me warm. And I knew that I couldn't be the only one because the oncologist was like, that's not a symptom. That's not a side effect of Herceptin. Take some Claritin. Take some Claritin. Actually, that was a great tip. Take some Claritin. So I found some groups, and one of them was the Breast Cancer Baddies on Facebook, and I just was like a fly on the wall, just watching people's journeys and stuff. And most of the women that I was seeing on there were early stage breast cancer, and I'm not a hater. I'm applauding every single one. Right? I'm cheerleading you on. If you have early stage breast cancer, I'm cheering you on. I want you to ring that bell. I'm not mad. I want to see the pink. I'm not one of those MBC activists that are like, hey, no, I don't want to see the ribbons. I do. Because I don't want you to get to the metastatic. I don't. And I've seen a lot of things in the last few years. But anyways, Then I decided to attend some online conferences. I attended the Young Survival Coalition's breast cancer conference they had last spring online. And then a month after that, I attended the Living Beyond Breast Cancer Metastatic conference online. And suddenly, I felt like a shift inside of me. I felt seen, and I started seeing people that were going through the same things that I was going through. And I got kind of stuck in that little cycle of like, why did I wait so long? I should have never waited that long, right? Or maybe if there would have been a patient advocate at the hospital that could have told me about some of these organizations, right? Organizations like For the Breast of Us, right? Which is a community for women of color that have breast cancer and have gone through it. So I decided I need to be that person that I needed and didn't know I needed 4 years ago. And I decided that I would shift my advocacy and the activism and stuff that I had been doing to a more online platform because I'm sick all the time, even though I don't look it. And I decided that I wanted to become an advocate for breast cancer and for metastatic breast cancer. And so in the last 6 months, I've joined 2 different organizations. I've done the training program through Living Beyond Breast Cancer. I'm a batting ambassador with For the Breast of Us. And it's been amazing. The community support, the listening to the stories, the talking about it with other people, some that are NED, some that are not, some that are on second lines, some that are on third lines, right? And I've been seeing it all, and it turns out that I can handle it, that I do have the heart for it, that this is my community also. So if you do have breast cancer or metastatic breast cancer, please, you don't have to go through it alone. I didn't have to go through this alone. You don't have to go through it alone. And if you don't have either and you're young, please remember that young women also get breast cancer, even with zero history. So please do those tit checks. Check your body. If something doesn't feel right, don't ignore the feeling. Go get it looked at, go get it checked out. Anyways, thanks for listening to my breast cancer story. Scans are coming up Friday the 13th, because I have a sense of humor like that. And this channel is going to be dedicated to telling all my stories, because I have a lot of stories that made me who I am before breast cancer even came into the picture. I'm going to be talking about trauma, adoption, sexual assault, things that I went through as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult, and how hard it has been living with mental illness. And some days the mental illness part is a lot harder than the breast cancer part, but both are hard. I'm going to talk about surviving domestic violence and the courage that it takes to come out of relationships like that. I have a lot of things to talk about, and if you're interested in hearing my stories, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be dropping videos weekly. Thank you for your time.